Hey friends, we are here to tell you that for the rest of December, Module 1 of the database course is free.
Free, completely free.
This is the best time of year to be working on your database and updating it and cleaning it out so that you can start 2023 with a fresh database and all your people in one place.
That's right. So don't miss it. Pull over your car now and head over to thedatabasecourse.com. There you are going to find some very vital mindset shifts. I think we all get stuck.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Don't
want
want to be a
our
bother.
database and access to our template. So our database template, you're going to get that all in Module 1. Easy to use. Set it all up before the end of the year. Head into 2023 with your act together.
Yeah. If you have your people in place, your business can only grow. So you have till December 31st to take advantage of this free resource at thedatabasecourse.com.
Don't miss it.
Concerned about a tree limb,
Okay.
which has since been removed for like $400. Wasn't a big deal.
She wanted the whole tree to come down.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah. I told my broker, I said, I'm probably like doing a liability nightmare because I'm owner, agent, dual agent. I have learned that I don't necessarily like managing it. Yeah, I need to care more. And I'm more like, let me know when it's done and I'll come by. You gotta pay it, and I don't want to pay it when it's 6 figures. Hi, y'all. Welcome to Hustle Humbly. It's Alyssa and Katie, and we are 2 top producing realtors in the Baton Rouge market.
We work for 2 different companies where we should be competitors, but we have chosen community over competition.
The goal of our podcast is to encourage you to find your own way in business.
So stop comparing yourself and start embracing your strengths. Hi, Alyssa.
Hey, Katie.
It's episode number 175.
Okay.
We're going to do a final flip report.
The final flip report.
So I guess in theory, I don't need to beep beep. You don't need to beep 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 because we're not breaking in.
This is just the whole episode today.
Yeah, we should just play that in the background the whole time. That would be horrible.
I had an agent email me the other day and was like, "Hey, how are things going with your flip?" Like
you
in
are
the
lying.
in the email.
What? That's amazing.
So funny.
I love that. Okay, so as of the airing of this episode, we've sold the house.
It is gone.
Okay, so let's go back to where we last were.
I last left off where I had a buyer that was looking at it
Pause.
before. Okay.
Let's go even further back.
Oh, man.
If you're a new listener, or maybe a listener who just hasn't been through all the episodes, this is the second time we've flipped a house along with you on the show.
Correct.
Okay. But the first time it started off was you were like, I'm buying this house to flip. You can kind of give us a brief story on that. But why don't we just break in on like episodes and just do like a little update as I go through it?
Okay.
So back in what year was that? Still in 2020? That must have been 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
2 houses this year.
So if you're a newish listener, you may go back to a random episode and be like, what is happening?
What is this do to beat?
Yeah,
it's the flip report.
Yeah, we would break in like a news report and we would tell you what was happening with the flip.
Yeah. How's the progress going? Any surprises?
Right. So then, not long after that one was gone, what happened?
I just so happened to get a call from a past client of mine, 1 street over.
The fact that they're so close together
is weird.
Bananas, because y'all, our market isn't small geographically. It's pretty large.
And I sold this house to these clients back in 2013. And they were just looking to buy their first investment property. And this had a tenant that had been there long term.
Okay.
The house was disgusting.
Right.
But the tenant was not going anywhere. And from 2013 till 2022, 2021. Same tenant.
Wild.
But they had a pipe burst in the kitchen.
Okay.
Earlier this year. And they had to gut the kitchen.
Okay.
And so the tenant just moved out.
And you tried to let you buy it gutted.
Yes, I wanted to buy it gutted, but due to insurance reasons, she had to use the insurance money to put the kitchen back together.
Okay.
I would have preferred to open the kitchen and do an island.
Right.
But I wasn't going to rip out cabinets because they were fine. The granite was there. Okay. So it was fine. I did open up the wall a little bit more and rearranged a few things, but the kitchen was done.
Okay.
The rest of the house, however, was a disaster.
Okay.
Total disaster, and so they didn't want to fix it.
It was moldy, right?
Yeah, the ACs had been like condensating for too long.
Like the ceilings looked really bad.
Around all the AC vents.
Okay.
And the problem was that the AC was newer, but the ductwork was original and it was too small to support a modern day AC.
Yeah.
So it was just condensating and the tenant never said anything, and it just became, it was a bad house in 2013.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't do anything
to
it?
No.
They just put this poor person in there.
Now, in all fairness, they had replaced the roof in 2017.
Okay.
And
obviously the AC was new.
The AC was new. They did that.
Okay.
Yes. So,
but aesthetically, nothing had changed.
Correct.
And wasn't great to start with.
No.
Okay.
Bad.
Okay.
Very bad.
Okay.
So she had some people at work that were maybe interested, and, when it came time that nobody was interested and it was time to list it, I was pretty familiar with the numbers.
You just
done it. And I could tell my contractor, what you did over here?
Same
thing. Same colors, same tile.
Okay, tell us the difference in sizes, though. So the house you had done the year before was how big?
It was 2,000 square feet, but it was only a 2-bedroom.
So it's weird.
It had a big sunroom.
Yeah, big sunroom.
This one was a 4-bedroom.
Much better.
But it was only like $1,750.
So weird that it actually, the sizes it was smaller, but it was a better floor plan.
Yes.
Okay.
More usable for sure.
Okay.
So that's what I did.
Okay.
I made them an offer. I paid $180,000 for the house.
Okay, great. I'm writing down my notes.
I paid $140,000 for the other house.
Okay. And it was bigger. Okay.
So
that was because the market had changed.
Yes.
That's very interesting because we were in that hot market.
Yes. During flip number 1, market was super, super hot. During flip number 2, when I purchased it, the market was super hot. And when I was done and ready to list it, the market was not.
Okay, we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that. Okay, so where you last left us, if someone has been following along, we've missed it for a few episodes. We kind of just cooled our jets on the flip report.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when last we talked to you, you had a buyer who went and then had all these
well, she had her dad
objections
that was concerned about a tree limb, which has since been removed for like $400. Wasn't a big deal.
She wanted the whole tree to come down.
Yeah, I'm not.
No. Okay.
So the tree was addressed, but it's just not the house for her.
That's fine. That's fine.
I proceeded with listing it.
Okay, and you were basically almost done by the time.
Yeah, when she went, it was
okay.
It just needed a final clean and some staging.
Okay, all right. So you listed it, and did you have to change what you thought was going to be the list price when you bought the house to the market now?
I didn't, but I should have.
Okay, you didn't, but you should have. Let's back that up. How long did the work take? How long?
Oh, shoot.
From where you bought it to where you were finished.
It was like
we can take
3 to 4 months.
Okay.
About the same.
About the same amount of time. Okay. So you listed it for how much?
I listed it for $329. Which is funny because that's what I listed the last one for.
Okay. But you feel like you should have listed it for
maybe $319.
Okay, you were not that far off.
No. Here's the thing.
Okay.
$329, I had comps.
Okay.
I could, but they were comps from
a shifting market.
Like I could say, well, this one just sold in May. Well,
didn't matter.
It's not May anymore.
Right.
But I thought, who knows? Like
could have.
It could. And so I just didn't know. And I also, because I have that buyer that went and looked at it, I'm very familiar with pretty much. I have walked through almost every house
you knew
on
your
the market,
competition,
and it was not good.
No,
like there is not any good houses in that area. I'm a seller. I think my house is the best.
Obviously.
House. So I decided $329 would be fine, but And we did have a good amount of showings, but buyers were just very gun shy. Like they were just
It was just right. When did you list? Do you know what date? Like date?
I listed it about 45 days ago, probably 60 days ago. So 2 months ago.
So we're recording at the end of
December.
November. So
Like October. I listed it in October.
the beginning of October. Yeah. Well, that says the rates have just been like jumped.
And that's
right?
when people were really panicking and they were adjusting. Like everyone was saying, like, if you don't have to buy right now, wait or don't. You know, it was a crazy time.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit about the area where you did this project. It is a very kind of like maybe young professionals.
Yeah, like mid-city.
Right.
You walk
it's
to
like a happening place.
It is a happening place.
And so maybe you would potentially be talking about first-time buyers.
I think the majority of people that looked at it were first-time buyers.
Okay, so they're super gun-shy because they're like, well, wait a minute.
Mhm.
Now the interest rate is 7.
Mhm.
And, 6 months ago it was
4
or 3.
Yeah.
And so I'm like really having this moment, like, do I want to buy a house? Maybe
Mhm.
I don't even want to buy a house.
Yes. Now, I did get some feedback
Okay.
that the 4th bedroom is small, which it is. And I even wrote in the description that it could be a great office, bonus space. The people before us used it as a kid's bedroom, which I still think would be fine, like a little
Okay.
nursery or
Sure.
something. But I got
Office.
feedback on the fact that the people that needed 4 bedrooms,
wasn't gonna work.
It wasn't going to work for a lot of them.
Okay.
I also got feedback that the master closet was small, and it is.
It's an old house.
It's an old house. And
okay.
there was no way to feasibly get the closet any different. It
Right.
just kind of is what it is situation.
Well, good news. Take that small 4th bedroom and make it a closet.
Yeah. So that was the feedback I got.
Okay. What type of do you want to tell us how? Okay, so it was on the market. You were
Mhm.
having good showings, but you were getting some feedback with some objections, and people were generally worried about the market.
Yes, the market and the bedroom.
Did you have to change the price?
When I went like 10 days without a showing, I dropped the price.
Where did that fall? Like Halloween-ish? Were you on the
Yep.
market? Okay.
Halloweenish.
So you've been on the market like a month, and you were like 10 days no showing.
Yeah. So
You dropped it to what?
$319.
Which you now say is what you should have listed at.
Sure. Yes.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
How did that work? Did you get some interest?
Okay, so here's what's interesting. Whenever I first listed it, I had another set of buyers that I have been working with.
Okay.
My buyers, different people, and they immediately emailed me the link. Did not know it was my house.
When you listed it
When I listed
at the
it.
beginning.
And they
Okay.
were like, this house just popped up. We love it.
Okay.
Here's the thing. They are investors.
Okay.
They want to buy their first investment property.
Okay.
They would like to diversify their retirement.
Sure.
So they love mid-city.
Okay.
I had been showing them houses in other areas that I thought would be better for investment.
right.
But at the end of the day, they're kind of like me. They want to
buy
like
something they would want.
Yes.
Okay.
So I understand. Well, here's what's interesting. We have been looking.
Okay.
They went, I gave them the code and they just went, and I said, why don't you go look at it on your own so you can speak freely?
Right.
It doesn't bother me at all. They were like, okay, great. We'll go after work.
Okay.
They were like, we love it. I said, great. Let's check some numbers with the lender.
Okay. And that was the beginning of when you first listed it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Go on.
At 329.
Okay.
The lender comes back and says, this is when I was like, wow, this is how interest rates affect your mortgage.
Tell us, because you told me and it's crazy.
At 329, putting 20 to 25% down,
Mhm.
their monthly note was going to be like $2,200 and some change.
Right. And they plan to rent it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, well, y'all, because of the size of the home, I think this is a bad decision.
Right.
Because-
Because you thought the rent for the house would be what?
Like $1,900
At best.
at best,
And they would
$2,000
be
maybe.
in it for $2,200 a month.
Yeah, so you're kind of
They'd be
losing.
upside down on
yes,
their-
on the
okay.
rent. Okay, so I was like, I don't think it's going to work. And I also said, this was a really great exercise because I need to adjust the search to where the price point is $300,000
Mhm.
and the house has to be at least 1,800 square
to get
feet.
the right rent to cover their. All they wanted to do was cover the mortgage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they have jobs.
Mm-hmm.
They're not looking for income.
Yeah.
They are looking for a long-term investment where somebody else is paying the note.
Yeah.
If the AC goes out, they have a job. They can replace the AC.
Right.
Like, it's fine. So when I went in and edited my buyer search I had for them, I adjusted the square footage to 1,800 and brought the price down to like 310.
Okay, let's also explain to anyone who maybe is like, why did you change the square footage? So they could get the rent they needed.
Yes, you can't rent a 1,500 square foot house out here for 2,200.
Typically, is it still just over $1 a square footage?
Yeah. So it's just, it just wasn't going to work. But I thought, now that we really have seen these updated numbers and ran a real life example, this is what it needs to be.
Yeah.
And there was like 4 houses that met that criteria.
Right.
We did go look at those houses, and I actually thought one of them was a really good option. And I was like,
maybe I want this
Are you going to buy it? Because I think it would be great. And she, at the end of the day, was like, look, there's nothing wrong with it. I just don't want to buy it. I said, okay, that's okay. You need to like it. So we were just waiting on something new to pop up. So then I dropped the price, and she emailed me again.
To $319. She's like, well, wait a minute.
And she said, okay, we can't stop thinking about this house. Like, we really want it. And I was like, but the numbers don't work. And so we got with the lender, and I said, well, here's the crazy thing. I'm not really having to pay a second agent.
Right.
So
if you sell them the house.
Yes. So we basically asked the lender, what would we need to do to get their mortgage to like $2,000 a month?
Okay.
And it came out to like $300.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go to $300.
Okay.
I would like it. It's not the end of the world, but it's not where I want to be.
Okay.
So they originally said, would you do $305 with $5,000 in closing?
Okay.
And I said, I'll do $305 with $2,500 in closing.
Okay.
And they were like, sure.
Okay.
So I'm basically under contract for $302 $500.
Okay.
With my buyers.
With your buyers.
I told my broker, I said, I'm probably like doing a liability nightmare because I'm owner, agent, dual agent.
But you're not, you could have done, you probably have to do ministerial acts on their side.
I don't know.
You're not getting paid for their side.
I'm not collecting my stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fine. It's just an interesting situation.
Headache.
This is an interesting situation.
Okay, fine. But how has the process gone then?
It's gone really well.
Wait, when you changed the price, you just didn't get a rush of new activity. And so when they were like,
well, they emailed me the day that I changed the price. I had 2 more showings, not really any feedback from those showings at $319. So I was getting nervous. I think like any seller, every time I saw like a news article come out, I'm like, come on, leave the interest rates alone. Leave the buyers be.
Leave me be.
So I was getting a little nervous, and they were getting nervous, my buyers, because they were like, the interest rates are going up every day. We need to be under contract.
Need to find something, right.
I wanted to offload, and they needed to purchase.
Okay, so it just worked out.
It just worked out. Okay. And I told them many a times, I want to make sure this is good for y'all.
Right.
You know, I want this to be a good thing. So they're super excited.
Okay, good.
When I was driving to the home inspection, I was all kind of like, this is a little weird.
You're the owner. You felt like you wanted to be there?
Yes.
Okay.
They're very nervous.
Okay.
Very nervous about this process in general.
Yeah.
Like, these are buyers that I was going to hold their hand through the whole thing.
Yeah.
No matter what. It just so happened I'm holding their hand through.
Don't worry, I'm okay. Everything's fine.
So the second I got there, the first thing I said was, look, this is not my personal home.
Right.
I have no emotional attachment here.
Right.
If there is a problem, I need to fix it no matter who buys it. So speak freely.
Did you do a pre-inspection?
Not really.
Because on the other flip, you had an inspector come and take a
I did. And I had a few things done.
Okay.
But it wasn't fully finished at that time. It was close to being finished. Okay. So he kind of just did like a walkthrough for me. So now that it was finished, I knew.
Okay.
But the inspection went well. A few things that we had to do nothing crazy.
Okay.
Just,
That's
little
good.
things. Yeah. And she felt good about it.
Okay.
So we are under contract closing. Well, by the time this airs,
You'll be
close
closed.
December 9th.
And they're going to rent it out.
They're going to rent it out.
For what?
They're going to rent. I think they're going to list it for like $2,000.
Okay.
And here's the thing. You know what I really loved? The lender said, I know that y'all are talking about quote unquote losing money. And she said, I'm just letting y'all know I have a tenant that's been in one of my houses for a decade.
Right.
And this person has paid me over $100,000
To live in the house.
Yeah. Like, it's not necessarily
because they can
about
refinance
income.
When the rates, if the rates change.
Right.
Well, it's going to be great too, because you have to think as the market shifted and made it harder for them to invest, it's also made it harder for people to buy. So they're probably going to put a tenant in that was trying to buy, but can't get into that area or like can't afford, or didn't have the down payment to do like okay, now I can't afford this area and this mortgage rate. So it might be nice. Like,
yeah,
they're probably going to get someone who wanted to buy that house.
Correct.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us how much money you put into this one.
Okay.
We like numbers.
I put in...
You bought it for $180.
And I'm all in at $261.
Okay. 600. 261 600. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, I mean, that's a pretty lot. That's a lot. 81,000?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
Okay. So what does your profit end up being? Do you know?
It comes out to be around $40,900.
Okay. What was your profit on the one the year before?
It was exactly $50,000.
Okay. So about $9,000 less.
Mm-hmm.
But the market obviously changed. Was the problem.
For this one, I made $10,000 less. I paid $40,000 more
to fix it. I mean, to buy it.
Yeah.
And
to buy it.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you really had to put a lot more into this one, money-wise. I mean, you were all in for a lot less than $260 on the other one. How much did you pay to renovate the other one? Do you remember?
I wish I would have brought that here.
That's
it
okay.
was about the same.
Okay, so all right, well, like another $80,000 on that one.
I had to spend a little bit more on the first one because I replaced all the windows.
Yeah,
and that was like $12,000. Right. I did not have to do that here. I had to replace a few of them. And then on the first house, I had to replace the HVAC.
Yes, it was bad.
And that was about $10,000.
From this new one, you had to replace all the
duct work, which was only like $4,000.
Okay, and all the ceilings, though.
Yeah.
Okay, well, here's my question. You listed the first one last year for $329.
Yeah.
Did it sell right away? I don't remember.
It took like 2 weeks.
Okay.
And it felt like forever. But it sold for $319.
So, okay. Interesting. So interesting. I guess this is a great episode too. We have some people who listen that are investors. It's just so important to remember that the market does change how you price, what you can afford to fix, like what you're going to pay to get the property, like how long is it going to be on the market? So there's more carrying costs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of the market shifts and changes. It's not always one way. It's not always.
Yeah. And even like with working with these particular buyers, and pretty much every buyer I'm working with right now, before we make an offer on a house, or if I haven't shown them a house in a while and then they send me one, I'm like, hey, you need to check with the lender and make sure you still feel comfortable in this price point. Because if the interest rate has gone up, it may kick you out of the price point you were hoping to be in. So I'm relying heavily on my relationship with my lenders right now because I need them to be very responsive, very on top of crunching numbers for us.
Hey, Alyssa.
Hey, Katie.
What do we mention almost every episode?
Email templates.
You're right. We sure do. And after every time we mention an email template, do you know what we get?
Emails asking if they can have copies of the email template.
Can you send me a copy of that template? I have never had one like that. That sounds great. And you know what the good news is?
What?
You can get all of our email templates from our course, Email Templates 101. Tell the people about it.
Our course has all of the email templates you would need to send to your buyers and your sellers and your clients that are buying and selling at the same time
Exactly.
to get through every step of the transaction and giving them information that they need for where they are in the transaction.
It's great because you never forget to tell them something.
Yes, and we've already done all the work for you.
Yeah.
We wrote them and
Yeah.
you can personalize them.
Yes.
And just feel organized knowing that you have all the information where it needs to be.
And if you purchase Email Templates 101, you do get lifetime access. So occasionally we like to go in and make updates based on the market, or if we find a new best practice, and we put that right into the template and you get that updated straight away.
It just goes straight to your course.
Yep. Right,
That's
it's just there.
amazing.
It's
just
already in there.
It's just
already
there.
in there. You don't even have to worry about it. We'll
That's
send you
wonderful.
an email and we'll say updated.
That's great. Where can they find these email templates?
You can find the email templates at emailtemplates101.com.
Emailtemplates101.com.
Yes, head over for reviews and all of the specifics.
Wonderful.
Okay, enjoy. Okay, as an agent who has now flipped 2 houses in the last 2 years, what have you learned? What
That I have
lessons
learned
you
that-
learned?
That I don't necessarily like managing it.
Yeah, because it takes time.
Yeah, I need to care more.
I see.
And I'm more like, let me know when it's done and I'll come by.
Do you think you could have made more money if you were more micromanaging?
No.
Okay, the whole goal is to make money, right?
That's right. That's right.
So it doesn't matter.
This one made me a little more nervous
Mhm.
because I was just starting to like question, what will I sell it for?
Yeah.
You know?
Now, what was the worst case scenario plan B for our listeners? What say
I was
it
just
sat
gonna
on the
have to
market
keep-
another month? Like, how long were you going to let it sit on the market?
I'm not paying anything on it except utilities.
Okay.
So I was okay
You were like,
to let it sit. Now, Tanner, my husband, was kind of like, hey,
Where's that check?
right. Like,
I haven't
how
seen a
long
check
he was
yet.
asking that question. And I was
Mhm.
like, I'm not stressed out about it.
Right.
Like,
Was there ever a like, forget this, we'll rent it?
mm-mm.
You were going to sell it.
I was going to sell it.
because really,
It was in too good a shape.
okay. Because you were all in for $260, and there was no way that it wouldn't sell more than that.
Right.
Right.
Like maybe worst case scenario, I make 15,000.
But you still were not going to lose
I'm
money to sell it.
No.
No. But it would just take time.
Yeah.
This is a great reminder for investors and agents and just anyone who would listen to this. Be like, you have to have thick skin and patience. Like,
Yeah.
you can't be like on edge and worried about what's gonna happen.
right.
You knew. You were like, I'm okay.
It's gonna sit
But
there.
it also, I think, is a case for you were cash in. Like,
Yes.
you weren't
Yeah. If I was
financed-
paying a mortgage, I would be feeling much different about the
Right.
situation. I
Right.
would definitely be thinking, I need to rent this thing out to cover the mortgage because I don't want to pay the
wanna
mortgage.
lose.
Yeah.
Every month you would be losing.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my big question: will you do another?
No,
That's it. We're done.
done.
No more flip reports.
this is the
the final flip report.
flip report.
That's what we're gonna
Unless,
call it, the
I mean,
final. To be fair, both of these houses came to you because the seller.
called me to list them.
Yeah. So are you telling me that if another seller called you to list the perfect flip, you would be like, I can't do it?
No, I just
feels like the end of a movie when it's like the third in a series and they kind of leave it out. Like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe
there's gonna be another one.
Maybe there'll be another one.
This one just really was. I don't know.
Okay,
I wish I could buy something for like 100 and list it for 250. You know,
doesn't everyone?
but it's that I think the 300 price point in our market right now
It's just
is
too
very
hard.
affected by this interest rate change.
Agree. I think that it almost feels as if we've reached this weird ceiling of
Mhm.
value to where it's like there aren't the right buyers for that property anymore.
Yeah, it's just got to take the
But
right.
affordability in general in the entire nation is the problem I think that people are starting to feel.
Yeah,
Like, what can the first time buyer can't buy That's what you were flipping, first-time buyer type properties.
Right.
Now they're like in a bit of a pickle.
Right.
Okay, it's very interesting. Tell us, though, this was the first time you ever did 2 in a row like this.
Yeah.
When was the last flip before these?
In 2017.
So you had 5 years to like get over your emotional trauma of flipping the house, right?
Yes.
So it may be 5 more years.
Maybe 5 more years.
We'll ask you again in 5 more years.
Ask me again in 5 more years. It's not that I don't know. I think that the end of the process is what gets me the most.
Yeah.
That's when like you have to get down to the nitty gritty details. Like I like going in when the ceilings are down and it's gutted.
Okay, that's
like
a great question. You do like the vision part, like what it could be, like deciding what to do.
Not necessarily picking out tile,
but the overall.
I like seeing the nasty stuff come out. And I like seeing it, you
want to see the transformation.
Yeah.
You're not so particular about what color it is.
It was so great having Whitney pick out like tile and colors, but it was also easier this time in that sense because we had just done it.
So you kept a lot of the same finishes.
Everything
was the same.
Yeah.
Except the outdoor colors.
Yes.
You were like,
Brandy.
more than one color? Okay.
Yes, Brandy helped us do that.
So you had all kinds of fancy colors. I do also want to say, because we had, if you may have missed the episode when you got to hear the story of Celia, this flip turned out to be the next door house to our office manager, to my office.
Yes.
And, you were in this driveway. This is my favorite story about this one.
I was in the driveway.
Like, I don't know if I should do this.
I was like, normally when I buy a house, there's always been some sort of sign.
Right.
Whether it be a tree or the street name or just something about the house that gives me confirmation.
Right.
That it's for me.
That it's the right.
And I didn't have anything. And
you almost didn't buy it.
I know. I was in the driveway. I had just finished meeting with the sellers and done a walkthrough, and they had left. And I was just kind of praying, like, what am I supposed to do this? And then all of a sudden, I hear Alyssa, and I'm like, what?
I just think this is so funny. Alyssa, is that you?
Yeah. And I turned around,
like, God,
and she was like, it's me, Celia. And I was like, oh my God, because I had just met her for the first time when
like a week before
at Superior, when we had picked up Superior.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, hey. And she was like, are you buying this house?
I was like, please.
She was like, please. It has been such a headache for us as neighbors. The whole street is just so sad with how badly kept this house has been.
Yeah.
And we need someone to come fix it up. And we're just so sad. And I was just like,
this is the sign.
And then I said, yeah, I am buying it. And
like,
she was like, thank you. I'm so excited.
Right.
I'll help you with anything you need. Paint colors, this or that.
Right. So
that was my sign for this one.
I just like that. I like that you're trying to feel it's not just an investment. Like you are really giving it some like emotional investment, honestly.
Yeah.
You liked that you made that house nice for the street.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
and I was okay making a little bit, just knowing that it helped.
It also reminds me, because we've talked about this before, houses are like beings, like they're alive or they're dead, right? Like there is you go into a vacant house that hasn't been lived in a while, it just feels like it's not alive anymore.
Right.
And you made that, even though someone had lived there pretty recently, that house had been dying for a long time.
I'll tell you this, they should not have been living in that house.
It was dangerous.
It was not livable.
Yeah.
Not livable.
Okay, so you've made that house come back to life.
Mm-hmm.
So exciting. Okay, anything else you want us to know about flipping, the process, what your thoughts are,
I have found that I have trouble making more, like I had more trouble making a decision on this purchase because it was a cash purchase. I am not used to writing.
Investing all your money.
Yes.
You're like, whoa, my account looks really drained.
Right. So, I mean, I have cushion of I'm not going to totally drain it, but it made me a lot more hesitant.
To have it all tied up.
Yes, because if it was a mortgage, it's like, well, I have my cushion to pay the mortgage as needed. But this was
was a larger investment.
It's harder. I have found that the bigger the check gets to write, it makes me more cautious, more hesitant.
Fair.
So while in some ways it made me feel good, like when I was buying it, it made me nervous not to be getting a mortgage. Like I even thought maybe I should just put 50% down and get a mortgage.
Right. But when you had it.
But then when it was sitting, I was very thankful.
Fine.
I was like, it's okay. I still have a job. Tanner still has a job. We don't need the income.
Yeah.
This is our investment and I'm just paying the utilities on it. So I'm just going to let it run its course.
I love that. Okay.
So that was, just an interesting observation.
You didn't get a mortgage on the one before either, though.
No, I just wasn't worried about it at that time because
the
things
market
were flying off the shelf.
The market that's a great point, too, just because the market was different.
Yeah, I wasn't worried. And I paid $140.
So it was less.
Yeah, $180.
The check was smaller.
Yeah, $180 was really hard for me.
You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
But I guess, too, it was more that you had the money from the last one to put into this one. So a lot of people go through that investment journey. They just take the money from the one thing and then they put it into the next thing. And then it's sort of a stepping. So each time the check does get bigger.
Right.
Because they've made some money. And
now,
they can put
on that note, I have had a few people ask, did I do a 1031 exchange?
Right.
I did not.
Right.
Why? You could save so much money on taxes. I'm not a CPA.
Right.
And this view of it may not be 100% the
accurate.
best.
Okay.
But this is how I feel about it because this is my experience. With a 1031 exchange, it does not exempt you from taxes.
Right.
It delays you paying them.
Right.
So, for example, if I owed $30,000 in taxes from flip number one, and I didn't pay them. I just did a 1031 exchange. So for those of you, a 1031 exchange is when investors, when they sell an investment property, they have a certain amount of time to reinvest it in another property.
Right.
To defer taxes.
Okay.
So they don't want to pay the taxes right now. They're just going to take that money and put it here.
Right. Is the theory that you just keep kicking this rock down the ball down the field, whatever it is?
From my understanding and my research, this is only helpful if you never plan to cash out.
Right. Or
because eventually I will die.
Right.
And then the tax is basically forgiven. Because Haven and Tate will now inherit.
So it really only works if you don't plan to sell.
Yeah. So for example, I had a rental property on Tulip Street. It was a pier and beam home. I bought it because it was tenant occupied and the tenants wanted to stay.
Okay.
The house needed work, but I didn't have to do any of the work right away. So I got a mortgage. I kept them in there. I sold it when they moved out because I didn't want to own a house that old.
Right.
So I kind of flipped it. I flipped it and sold it. And I bought my cabin. Okay. I did a 1031 exchange and I took all my profit from Tulip and I bought my cabin. I did not write a check to the IRS.
Okay.
I paid $299 for my cabin. During the craziness of the pandemic, had a real person, legitimate person, reach out and make me an offer of $850 for my cabin. And I was like,
what?
Like, I would be dumb not to at least check the numbers.
Right.
So I emailed my CPA and I was like, look, I have this guy who wants the cabin for $850. What does that look like for me tax-wise?
Right.
And I don't remember the exact figure, but she was like, well, you're going to owe, and it was like a huge number.
Yeah.
Like more than $150,000.
Wow.
So the check I was going to be getting back, while still a big sum, if I kept the cabin for 5 years, I would make that.
That was, okay.
So I said, but why is that number so big? She said, well, you would have to pay your capital gains on Tulip and your capital gains on the cabin. Like you're paying taxes on 2 properties. So then in my brain, I thought, okay, let's pretend I sell the cabin and then quickly buy something else.
1031 exchange.
At some point, aren't you going to owe more in taxes than your profit altogether?
No, because it's only capital gains. You'd have to.
But if I'm rolling over Tulip and the cabin and
The only way that would happen is if the thing you bought decreased in value.
no.
Well, because if you.
Look, let's say I owe $50,000 in taxes on Tulip,
Okay,
but I'm not paying it. I still owe it, but I'm not paying it.
fine.
Now for the cabin, I sell the cabin and I owe $100,000 in capital gains. So I'm now up to owing the IRS $150,000, but I'm not going to pay it.
Okay.
I'm going to roll it over into Eastwood.
Okay.
Now I owe $40,000 in capital gains on Eastwood.
Okay.
So I'm up to $190,000 owed to the IRS
Right.
on all these gains. Eventually, that number is going to keep growing and growing and growing. And if I ever sell something, they're going to want to collect it all. In my mind, I would rather close out.
You're like, I just don't want this anymore.
I'm like, look, when I'm done with Eastwood, the first thing I'm doing is writing a check to the IRS.
I would love to talk to, you know who would be great for this? Sarah. I would love to get a financial or a CPA or someone, or Karen, somebody to really talk us through that. Because I think you are probably missing something.
I called
and
a
what
few.
did they say?
They're like, you're correct.
They're like, at some point
You would owe, if you keep rolling it and rolling
you
it and
eventually
rolling
have to pay it.
You got to pay it. And I don't want to pay it when it's 6 figures.
That's so
Like,
funny.
I would rather close the account.
You're like, I'm done with this.
Like, it annoys me still that I still owe taxes on Tulip and I sold it in 2020.
They were the taxes, whether they were paid then or later, I guess is the theory.
Yeah, I just like to close it out and be done and know that this account is settled. I don't owe taxes on all these houses.
As long as you never do another one, you know what you'll...
Right. The only thing that I did the 1031 exchange on is the cabin. And now that I've seen what happens if I sell the cabin, I'm like, well, that's terrible.
I don't want to do that.
I wish I was done with that.
Oh my God, that's so
that's just my personal experience.
Okay, fine. Fine.
But I feel like if I was older, like maybe if I was like 70 and I was preparing for like leaving an inheritance for my children.
Right.
At that time, I could totally see doing a 1031 exchange and not paying the taxes because they don't tax the inheritance the same way. So you're basically, if you plan to never ever sell,
right, then it's fine.
But I'm too young to know that.
You're like, I don't know.
I may sell the cabin one day.
Right.
And pay my 6-figure check to the IRS.
You're still going to make a pretty penny.
Yeah, it's fine.
Totally fine. Okay, well, that was riveting. Anything else you want us to know?
Sorry,
that's it? Okay, great. Oh, I have a toast.
Okay, good.
We're gonna toast somebody. I'm just kind of sad. I mean, I enjoyed hearing about the flipping. So goodbye to the flipping.
Goodbye, do beep.
I know, it's a sad time. Y'all can go buy all the shirts that are left.
We have some flipper
really cute
shirts. They're so cute. The little
that Kayla made. I know, they're so good. Okay, today's toaster is Danielle Burleson. She's in Dallas, Texas, being toasted by Courtney Whitford. Okay. And the message reads, Danielle says, we met early on in 2022 as I hosted an open house for one of her listings, and immediately they hit it off.
Aw.
She's a veteran agent with an extensive knowledge of everything and has never made me feel like my baby agent questions were dumb.
Baby agent questions.
If anything, she's always built me up and tells me how great I'm doing constantly. Over the years, we've established a great friendship and talk almost daily. She told me about your podcast, and we talk about almost every episode and how we can incorporate some of what y'all do in your business. I'm so thankful God brought me a new bestie and a real estate fairy godmother.
Oh, that's so cute. A fairy
So
godmother.
sweet. So cheers to Courtney. She sounds delightful.
Yeah.
She was like, I'll help you, little baby agent.
Yeah.
And thank you to Danielle. I think that's just so cute.
That is a good one.
So be nice to those baby agents when they come to your open house.
Yeah. That's
You might
sweet.
become besties.
Yeah.
Okay. Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Hustle Humbly podcast. Let us know who we should toast to for the next episode.
Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Hustle Humbly Podcast. If you have an episode, topic, or question, please email us at hustlehumblypodcast@gmail.com.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. See you next week.
Bye.
This is the good life.